So we're going to start out with some shorter holds, and we'll use our chair. So I'm going to set my chair on my yoga mat so it's not going to slip out from underneath me. And then I'm going to plant my feet just in front of the chair. I'll take my hands to the seat of the chair and then walk my feet back until my spine lengthens out and my ankles start to relax underneath my hips. And then my head can start to relax between my biceps. Just kind of let the spine relax and soften here. So if you are familiar with downward facing dog, this might kind of feel similar to that shape. Difference here is we're not really bearing weight on our wrists. You can go ahead and bend your knees a lot or a little. And just start to take some deep belly breaths. Keep relaxing your head, relaxing your neck. Notice how this feels in your shoulders and your hips. And take about 4 to 5 more deep belly breaths here. Long, slow, deep breath in. Deep breath out. A few more breaths. Okay, so really take your time. You can start to walk your feet back towards the chair. You can keep resting your hands on the chair. And then you can slowly uncurl the spine. So it's normal when you release out of a shape like this to feel a little bit dizzy and maybe a little bit lightheaded. And one really good way to combat that is to just allow your chin to rest towards your chest. Just take a few deep breaths here. That sensation will pass. Nice deep belly breaths. Okay. So now if you have a blanket nearby, grab your blanket. And you're going to want to fold it over a couple of times so it's maybe an inch or two thick. And you can always make it thicker by adding a second blanket. You're just setting that down in front of your chair. And then, so you'll take your heels, just the heels to the blanket and the ball mounds of the feet to the mat. And then you're going to take a wide stance with your legs so the ankles are outer with shoulder distance apart. Toes are turning out to the sides, heels are slightly turned in. And we'll start to bend the knees and sink the hips back. So it's kind of like you're coming into a squat. So depending on what's going on with the knees, you might just stay here, rest the hands on the chairs. So hips are kind of like in line with the knees, maybe a little bit higher. Or you could explore sinking the hips a little bit lower. And if you're taking the hips down towards the backs of the heels, the idea here isn't to take a seat, but to just come into this deep squat. You have this chair in front of you that you can hold on to for balance. And if it's hindering your depth, if you want to move a little bit deeper, you can move it forward a little bit out of the way and you can bring your hands to the floor. So really up to you if you want to use the chair or not, but sometimes it's kind of nice to have it for balance. Notice if the knees are starting to draw in towards one another, like if you can feel more weight on the ball mounds of your feet, and you roll a little bit of weight towards the pinky toes. And then sometimes I like to take my triceps to my inner thighs, my inner knees, and I just give a little pressure there. This helps to roll a little bit more weight towards the pinky edges of the feet also. You can relax your chin in towards your chest. If the chair is right there, you could even rest your forehead on the chair. And we'll take about 4 more breath cycles here. Let your shoulders relax. If your hands are gripping a chair or on the floor, let your fingertips and your wrists soften. Okay, so when you're ready, slowly release. Take your time to stand up. We'll walk back into that first shape we did. So hands on the seat of the chair, walk your feet back. You're lengthening out through the spine, straightening out through the arms, letting the head relax between the biceps. And check out the feet, maybe a little bit wider than you normally would have them. So outer hips width distance apart, but feet are parallel. Feel free to bend your knees as much or as little as you like here. Come back to that long, deep belly breathing. Four deep breaths. Notice if this second round feels different than the first round. If so, where and how? More intense, less intense? Has the intensity moved to a different place in the body? Very slowly release. And take your time to walk your feet back towards the chair. And when you're ready, just for a moment, we'll stand up and you can allow the chin to tuck in towards the chest, relax your arms. And we'll try that squat one more time. And so walking the heels onto that blanket, and feel free to adjust the height of the blanket. If you felt like you needed more height, add a second blanket. If you felt like that was too much height, you can take a blanket or all of the blankets away. I find it just feels a little bit more accessible in my hips and my knees to elevate my heels a little bit. So toes turn out, heels slightly in, and then your feet are wide so that when you squat, you're making space for your hips. And you might start out here with a higher squat. And you might maybe wobble side to side and allow the hips to relax towards the backs of the heels. If it feels accessible, if you feel sharp shooting pain in the knees, just don't squat as far. There's no goal, there's no destination, there's no need to get to a certain place. So once you're where you're going to be in your squat for a period of time, start to deepen the breath. You relax your head, relax your arms, find a place to rest your arms. Relax your jaw. And 4 deep breaths here. Okay, so when you're ready, we'll start to release out of this squat. Really take your time. If you need to shake it out, shake it out. You can kind of bend the knees right to left once you stand up. And we'll do one last shorter hold, and then we'll kind of come into our longer hold. All right, here's my timer. Okay, so this third shape is going to be a low lunge. And again, I'll give you the option of continuing to use the chair and the blanket. So right foot's going to step kind of wide outside of the front of the chair legs, and left knee gets to come down and rest on that blanket. So rest the top of your left foot on the mat, and the sole of the right foot is planted. You're bending nice and deep into the right knee. Take a peek at your right toes. You want them tracking straight forward out of the knee joint. So the knee is in line with the front toes. And then you're going to start to sink the hips a little bit lower if you need to wiggle your right toes forward to allow the hips to relax. You can do that. Then you can walk your forearms onto the chair. You can lean your weight onto the chair. You can make a little cradle for your head by interlacing the fingers and resting the chin on the knuckles. That might feel nice. Or you could kind of make like this prayer position, resting the forehead on the knuckles or the hands. Notice if you're clenching any of your muscles around the lower half of the body. And you release. Deepen into your breath. It's normal to feel this really intense sensation across the front of the left hip flexor, the left quadricep, the left thigh. Especially because we spend so much time in flexion of the hip joint. If we're sitting in chairs or driving in cars, we're often flexing the hip joint. So now we're opening that left side up. Probably feels quite intense, at least it does for me. Take about 4 deep, slow belly breaths here on this side. One last inhale and exhale. And start to back off. Bring your right knee back to the blanket. Then you can start to bring your left foot forward. As the left foot comes forward, you can wiggle those toes as far forward as you need to allow the hips to relax. And then check out your foot, the sole of the foot planted, that left foot's planted. And take a peek at the knee joint and the relationship to the toes. They're all moving in that same forward direction. Rest the top of your right foot down onto the mat. You can bring your forearms, your elbows, whatever it is you like, down onto the chair. Start to deepen into the breath here. So one of the things I find so interesting about our yoga practice oftentimes is how different the body feels from side to side. And this is an opportunity for us to just take note, to observe, not to judge or not to say anything's wrong, but to notice how things can become so different in sensation from side to side, or sometimes different in ability or flexibility. And these are things that can be diagnostic to how we move through our life, maybe how we are sleeping at night. What position do we sleep in? Do we sleep on our side? Do we sleep on our back? Do we sleep on our belly? And how we move about through our day, how we walk, how we stand, how we get up out of a chair, how we sit in a chair. All of these things show up in our yoga practice. Keep coming back to your breath. Have about 4 more deep belly breaths here. Really slowly back out. Take your time. Good. Okay, so this next one, we're going to actually sit on the chair. So if you're sitting on a hard chair and you want a little bit more padding, feel free to lay a blanket on top of that. And so I'm going to turn this to face you so you can see how I'm setting this up. All right, so we'll start to work with the whole hip. So the hip is not just the front of the hip, it's not the outer hip, it's not just the buttock, it's this whole 360-degree circumference. So we get to work with that today a little bit, and that oftentimes translates into some sensation in the low back. So if you're feeling this in the low back, know that's normal. I'm going to take a wide-legged seat on my chair. My feet are kind of like how we were in our Malasana squat, that second squat we took. And I'm going to move to the edge of my chair so that I can feel my bony sits bones resting on the chair. And then you can choose here to pile some things underneath the arms, like lots of blankets, maybe a pillow or two, or even a second chair if you want that. Because what we're going to do is we're going to relax our belly down in between the thighs, relax the head, the forearms can rest on whatever you piled underneath you. If you're super flexy and you want to just relax your arms down towards the floor, you can, that's fine. It's also fine to build a floor up to meet you. But see if whatever you're taking, however you're supporting yourself, can you relax the crown of the head so the back of the neck starts to become long and lengthened? The shoulders can completely relax. And the arms can just rest. There's nothing for the arms to do. They're just resting here. Nice deep breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. You're breathing fully into your belly. Keep relaxing your jaw. Keep relaxing your neck. Soften your throat. Relax your shoulders. Just a few more breath cycles here. If you're on your forearms, walk your hands onto your thighs. Start to press your way up to a seat. Go nice and slow. All right, so our next shape, we're going to move our chair off to the side. And we might come back to using the chair in a little bit, but for now we can just set it off to the side. And we're going to come down onto our backs, onto the mat. And you probably want a pillow or blanket or two close by as you come down. But first we'll just check out the spine as we lay down on our back. So stretch your legs out long. Relax your hips, your shoulders, the back of your head, your arms. Everything relaxes. And just notice how it feels to be lying here on your back. A couple more breaths. Okay, so we'll start to build our next shape. Start by bending the knees and planting the feet. Now, you're going to choose the height you want, what's appropriate for your spine, and this might take some trial and error. So be willing to try a particular level of support. What we're going to do is we're going to create a supported bridge pose. So you'll press down into your feet, lift your hips up. You can slide some folded blankets or a pillow or a combination of those underneath the low back and the sacrum. So the flesh of the glutes is just kind of at the edge of whatever it is you're resting on. Be sure that it feels relatively even from side to side. And this might not feel like much of anything. There's just maybe a slight elevation, especially if you're using something a little bit more forgiving like a pillow. If you do want a little bit more height, or if you want a little bit more feedback, blankets are just a little bit less forgiving. So it might take stacking 2 or 3 underneath the sacrum to get more sensation if that's what you're after. Okay, so we'll start by extending that left leg long. Let the heel rest on the mat. and hug your right knee into the chest. Keep relaxing your shoulders. You can be hugging around your right shin, or you can be interlacing the fingers around the left hamstring. Let's just take a few deep breaths here. We're just preparing the body to find stillness in this shape eventually. Preparing the hips and the lumbar spine for a nice long hold. So we'll switch outside. You can bend that left knee, plant the foot, and extend the right leg long. Let your right heel rest on the mat. Then hug your left knee into your chest. Keep your shoulders relaxed, the back of your head heavy. Just giving yourself a little gentle squeeze of the left thigh towards the left ribs. Now you might rebend the right knee, plant the right foot, set the left foot down so you're back to that starting position. And then one at a time, lengthen out through your legs. So you're draping your body over whatever it is that's underneath the lumbar and sacrum. Let the arms rest anywhere alongside the body that feels comfortable. You could also take your hands to rest on the low belly. Just as a reminder, continue to breathe deep into the belly. And if you lengthen out through your legs here and you're noticing that you've got too much height underneath your sacrum, you just back that off a little bit. You take some of the height away. Switch out a high prop for a lower prop. Can you close your eyes here? Soften into your back body. Let it feel heavy. Noticing where you're feeling sensation. And beyond the feeling of physical sensation, is there any emotional reaction that's attached to that? Yin Yoga practice is an invitation to turn the observation, the awareness inward, noticing what happens in the body, what comes up for us. And as things come up, can we approach it with a sense of curiosity, with a sense of wonder, a sense of interest? Is there any space for compassion there? It's normal to feel a bit of achiness in the low back when we elevate our hips like this. There is a slight bit of compression through the lumbar spine, which is actually quite therapeutic if you ever have a slip disc at the low back. Let's take about 3 more deep breaths here. Rebend your knees, plant your feet. Take your time. When you're ready, press down into your feet, lift your hips up, and then whatever was underneath that low back, slide it off to the side. Set your hips back down. A little bit of a release for the low back. You can hug your knees into your chest and rock side to side. So whatever it was that we had underneath the spine, I'll recommend that you take that off to the left side of your yoga mat, just where about your hips and your knees are. And then we'll start to move the knees off to that support. So I have my knees and my ankles resting on my blanket that I had there. And we're coming into a twist. So the backs of the shoulders get to rest heavy on your mat. The back of the head gets to rest there. There's a lot of space between the knees. You can slide some support in between the thighs and between the knees. Come into stillness in your twist. We'll be here for about 3 minutes. Keep relaxing your shoulders. Relax your jaw, all of the muscles of the face. Deep belly breaths here. Each breath in, create a little bit more space. Each breath out, a little bit more relaxation. One more breath here on this side. Really slow unwind, bringing your knees back up towards the ceiling, planting your feet. Adjust your hips so that they feel like they're in line with the shoulders. And pause here for a moment. Deep breath in, deep breath out. And then that prop, whatever it was you were using to relax your knees and your ankles onto, or taking that to the right side of your mat. And you can start to move your knees and your ankles off to that right side so that your left hip starts to stack on top. And adjust the shoulders so they feel equally weighted. That left shoulder is popping way up off of the mat. You could slide something underneath it, like a blanket, pillow. You also might try sliding a blanket or a pillow underneath the back of the head. Oftentimes that helps support and align the spine. Settling into stillness, settling into your breath. Each inhale, belly fills up. Each exhale, navel softens back into the spine. Last few breath cycles here. When you're ready, very slowly unwind. Bring your knees back up towards the ceiling, plant your feet. Adjust your hips so that they're in line with the shoulders. If you like, you could hug your knees into your chest. You could even take a happy baby. Any last movement before we descend into our Shavasana, which will turn right into Yoga Nidra. So this is something we'll do lying down on our backs, and I highly recommend supporting your back body in a way that's going to be sustainable for a period of about 10 to 15 minutes. So what I recommend is, if you're on a hard surface like a hardwood floor, add a little extra padding. So I'd lengthen out another blanket on top of your mat. And then you might take something underneath the backs of the knees, like a rolled blanket or an extra pillow if you have it. And then providing a little bit of extra padding to the back of the head. Could be a pillow, could be another blanket. And I'm going to grab an extra blanket to drape over the length of my body because you might get a little bit cold while you're here. All right. So really anything you like, anything you need in your Yoga Nidra, but let it be comfortable and supported. Take a few moments here as you come down into your back to kind of wiggle around, make any adjustments you need to make. Move the shoulders away from the ears, slightly tilt the chin towards the chest. Be sure you're warm enough. Now, can you let your eyes close? And you let your back teeth part. Let your tongue widen at the base of the mouth. Let your eyes sink heavy into their sockets. Begin to notice the breath. Inhale and exhale through the nose. Feel the weight of your back body release into whatever it is you're lying on. And feel the lightness of your front body meeting the space, the air around you, above you. The texture of the clothing, the air against your skin. Just notice. You'll now begin to count backward on your breath, beginning at the number 10, with each exhalation going backward one count, so that the next exhale is 9, the next exhale is 8. Continuing to count backward on your breath until you reach 0. Each exhalation, the more the mind, the body, the breath are established in a state of total relaxation. Now let go of any counting, let go of any doing, let go of any idea of success or failure. Just allow yourself to be. We'll begin to move awareness around the body. I will call to mind a body part. You will do your best to just listen and relax. Nothing that you need to do, nothing that you need to be. It's okay if the mind trails off. It's okay if you fall asleep. Bring your awareness to the forehead, the space between the eyebrows, the right eye, the left eye, right cheek, left cheek, upper row of teeth, lower row of teeth, the tip of the nose, the whole nose, the lips, and the space between the lips, the tongue resting the bottom palate of the mouth, the throat, the collarbone, the chest. Just relax. The right shoulder, the right elbow, the right wrist, the right hand thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, palm of the hand, back of the hand, the entire right arm. Relax. The left shoulder, the left elbow, the left wrist, left hand thumb, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger, the palm of the hand, the back of the hand, the entire left arm. Relax. The sternum, the navel center, the pelvis, the entire torso. Relax. The right hip, right knee, right ankle, right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, sole of the foot, top of the foot, the entire right leg completely relaxed. Left hip, left knee, left ankle, left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, fifth toe, sole of the foot, top of the foot, the entire left leg. Relax. Feel the weight of the body on the floor or whatever it is that you're lying on. The whole body is so heavy. The whole body is so heavy. You're making an imprint on the floor. Body has roots that grow deep into the earth's core. Be heavy. Begin to cultivate the sensation of lightness. Feel the whole body so light. Cultivate a sense of spaciousness, as if your whole body was nothing but a cloud drifting by in the sky above you. Feel your body so light it begins to float up, away from whatever it is you're lying on. Your body is hovering a few inches above the floor. You begin to move your awareness up above the building or the dwelling that you currently occupy. You look down and see your body peacefully resting there. You begin to float up. You move away from the building or the dwelling. You look off into the horizon. You see the horizon of a city in the distance glittering. And where the city lights meet the sky, you see a beautiful sunset, multifaceted colors, hues painting the sky. You see soft whispers of clouds floating by. You begin to realize that you are shapeless, you are formless, that you are one with the clouds, with the colors, the hues. Begin to bring your awareness back into the body that you currently occupy. Without opening your eyes, you visualize the space around you. What room are you in? What objects are in the room with you? Are there people that surround you? Notice the vibration or the energy. It is nourishing, it is loving, it is perfect and complete. Begin to deepen the breath. When you're ready, begin to awaken through your fingertips and toes. Begin to move your head side to side. You keep your eyes closed, a soft, fuzzy, unfocused gaze. Continuing to cultivate that internal awareness. Breathing in, stretch the arms up and overhead, bring your legs together, point the toes away from your face. On your exhale, bend your knees, roll off to a side. Find fetal position for a moment. Your next breath cycle, take your time, press your way up to a comfortable seat. Feel free to grab that chair you were sitting on if you like. You can also sit cross-legged or with the shins down on the floor. Really up to you. Let's take a few moments here. palms resting face down on the thighs, the bones rooting into your seat, spine growing tall. Breath in, breath out. Bring your hands to your heart, spine and chin to the chest. Take a moment to honor your effort, honor your practice. May we use the fruits of this practice to serve our highest good, to reach our highest potential, to share it with those around us that we love or who could use healing. Together we send love and healing to all sentient beings around the world that may be suffering. May they be happy, may they be free. Namaste, everyone.